Hello, everybody. It's your Commissioner Ian Lovering. I'm back for the Week 10 wrap-up. I want to go ahead and get the most important information in this message out at the very beginning. For those of you who may only watch 30 seconds of this thing, I can't say that I blame you, but our league deadline, you may have seen this on the league page, our trade deadline is exactly a week from today on November 24th at noon. So make sure that all the trades you want to propose, have completed this season, they need to be in the next week. So keep that in mind and get those trades in. I'm looking at this league scoreboard for this past weekend, week 10, as is my custom, and I am going to go over the matchups, hopefully in a lot less time than it took me last week. I think I was on for like 9.5 minutes, and that's a bit ridiculous. So I'm going to try to keep it a little more succinct this week. Looking at the first matchup on the board, it was me versus Mason. That was picked as the matchup of the week, and it lived up to its billing. Really close score-wise. It was touch and go the whole time. I, of course, had the fantasy cast up pretty much all of Sunday while I was watching the games, and I paid a lot of attention on Monday night when me and Mason came down to the wire. He ends up besting me by 6 points, and that puts him one game ahead of me and David. That's 7 wins in a row for him. Very, very impressive, Mason. You got to wonder how long it can keep up, but then again, you look at his team, and it's pretty stacked, so for the foreseeable future, I don't see why his winning streak would be snapped. Next game, Al versus Brad. This was, along with Jeremy and Wayne, our lowest scoring matchup of the week. 76-67. Brad earned the Snowman Award for his efforts, and Al, even though he only scored 76 points, he continues to win. He's 7-3 now, tied for the best record in the league. Call it defense, call it luck, call it whatever you may, but wins are all that matters in fantasy football, and Al is certainly doing that. So good job to the Als there. The matchup I referenced about a minute ago, Jeremy and Wayne, another pretty ugly showing. 77-74 Jeremy. He gets his second win of the year. Wayne and his Barbies fall even further. He's now 4-6. Jeremy has renamed his team A Star Is Born. I have to believe that's a reference to Des Bryant. I guess Jeremy thinks that Des Bryant is going to carry his team to fantasy stardom. I don't really know. He's kind of out of the playoffs at this point, so kind of a moot point there. I will say, though, he has a pretty formidable trio of receivers in Roddy White, Des Bryant, and Brandon Marshall. That's a very good fantasy lineup there. Next matchup, David and Walter. I feel like everybody except Chad this week picked David to lose, and of course, as is often the custom, he wins. And this time, it wasn't a low-scoring affair. I mean, necessarily, he didn't use his defense to win. He actually came out. Huge performances from Matt Ryan, Brandon Lloyd. Trying to think of who else went off for him, but he scores 101 points. That's impressive. Beats Walt 101-93. Walt needed a really big game from Macklin on Monday night and didn't exactly get it. And in our final matchup, this was probably the most unbelievable score of the week. Going into Monday night, Chad was trailing Cody 89-41, I believe. And, of course, anyone who was looking at the score was thinking, wow, this is a snowman-worthy effort from Chad. But inexplicably, he gets 57 points from Michael Vick on Monday night. I'm sure a lot of us watched that game, and it was absolutely an unbelievable performance by Vick. Scores 6 touchdowns, runs for over 50 yards, throws for over 300. It was like fantasy heaven. It was ridiculous. So he gets 57 from Vick, 15 from Deshaun Jackson on that first play of the game, and he ends up beating Cody rather convincingly by 24 points, even though he was down by 48 going into the game. I've never seen anything like it in fantasy football, and I awarded Chad the Crucial Beast Award trophy for his performance. Chad feels like he should have gotten it last week, and maybe this is karma coming back around. Chad, you get it this week for your crucial performance. We had no Nostradamuses this week. Nobody was really very close to predicting all the winners, and certainly nobody picked Brad for the Snowman, so that kind of ruled everybody out right off the bat. Let me look at next week's matchups really quickly before I sign off. I'm playing Al. Mason playing David. So for us two, we would like to see ourselves as kind of maybe the leaders in David with Cody. But those are two tricky matchups because even though David and Al don't necessarily score a lot of points very often, it's very easy to lose to them. So those will both be some pretty close matchups. I'm more than sure. Chad versus Jeremy. This will be the matchup where Jeremy can test out his team's mettle. He feels like maybe a star is born in his team. We'll see how that goes against Chad's Super Bowl victory, which are looking very, very, very good right now, led by fantasy beast Michael Vick. Brad and Wayne. That's a matchup of two teams that have recently changed their names to rather womanly things. Barbie's team versus Tinky Winky. I don't really want to talk about that. Good luck to both of you, I suppose. Walter and Cody, that'll be a good matchup. Cody needs to win this one to keep pace with Mason and David. Walter's trying to salvage somewhat of a respectable season. I know he's been really disappointed with how his fantasy performance has worked out. Big game for both of them. I believe that wraps up next week's matchup. I'm looking at the standings really quickly. David is all bunched up at the top. Mason's one game ahead at 7-3, and then me, Cody, and David are all at 6-4, one game back. That's shaping up to be a really tight playoff race. Mason's looking to put some distance in between himself and the teams behind him, but we'll see how that works out. Al, one game ahead in Goliath, and then after Chad at 6-4, it's kind of a drop off to Wayne is 2 games back of Chad, or Wayne is 3 games. Wayne is 2 games back of Chad, and then Brad is 4 games back, and then Jeremy is 5 games back of Al. So Goliath a little more spread out than David. It's looking like David will be right now. It's looking like David will be the team that produces the 3 playoff teams as opposed to Goliath's 1. We'll see how the next few weeks work out as we get closer and closer to week 15, which is our first week of the playoffs. I hope that was a little shorter this week. Not completely sure, but hope everybody does have a great week. I'm going to be in town this weekend for Thanksgiving. Hopefully get to see a lot of you at church, and see you later.